Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. Time is now 5:30 p.m. and we have a very easy work session to read off. We have a work session regarding the completion of the bike path. Now, what does that mean? This is not a public hearing, so that means we are not making any decision whatsoever tonight. This is designed based on the desire for this town council to be as transparent or improve transparency and work with you on trying to figure out what the best course of action is here. There's been at least 4 options presented and thoroughly vetted and reviewed for a number of years, I'm told. So in the spirit of trying to get this project over the finish line, we've decided to start with this work session. We only have 90 minutes, now less than 90 minutes and counting. So that means not everyone here this evening will be able to get up and say something. But that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. If you do not have the opportunity to speak this evening, please continue to reach out to us directly. I do know for a fact that all members of this council have been going out, walking the routes. I actually got some tremendous feedback on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, regarding some additional feedback and research that I want to acquire about actual bikers that use the route themselves. So again, this is not the last conversation that we're going to have on the bike path. This is just very much one additional conversation that the special ad hoc committee can take back and further take this feedback, as well as this council can take back and make sure everything is taken into consideration. With that being said, I do know that we have 2 members on each wing, 1 member on each wing who were served on the ad hoc committee. So I would like to start by opening the floor to Councilors Vignali and Torialde to provide an update on the ad hoc committee findings, and if they would like to invite anyone up to speak. Yep. And in the spirit of that, I'm going to let everyone know that we're sitting up here to set the clock. Everyone will be allocated no more than 3 minutes to say what you need to say, again, in the spirit of trying to get through as many people that want to speak as possible. So, Councilor Torialde, Vignali,
all right.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. So last Thursday, the Bike Path Ad Hoc Committee met over in the large boardroom. We met for close to 2 hours, and the group is comprised of members all around the relevant and affected areas that we are investigating to push the bike path down. Over the course of the meeting, we didn't necessarily come to a recommendation, as there were some contentious ideas and some good thought-provoking discussion that was had. But at this point, I would ask Rupert Friday to come forth up to the podium to provide some additional context surrounding what we discussed at the meeting. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, well, welcome, Rupert Friday, Mr. Friday. Everyone knows Rupert's also a terrific member of our planning board. So welcome, and I will not set the timer for you as we want to hear what was reported out.
Yeah, good evening. As Councilmember Torialde reported, the Bike Path Ad Hoc Advisory Committee met on Thursday, October 2nd from 5:30 till 7:15, and Councilmember Torialde facilitated the discussion. Community Development Director Jill Sabo provided maps of the routes being considered. I was shanghaied into being the committee secretary. Everyone else ducked further under the table than I did. 6 committee members participated in the discussion, and 5 other committee members didn't participate but were in attendance. And the meeting in the large conference room was attended by many people. I want to convey, one committee member noted that there is not a representative of Kingstown Road or Narragansett neighborhoods on the committee, which are 2 neighborhoods where the bike paths routes being considered go through. We had, as was mentioned, we had a wide-ranging discussion of 5 routes to complete the bike path from the community center to the beach, 4 identified and detailed through consulting studies, and 1 additional route prepared by David and Rosemary Smith, who have been advocating for the bike path for decades. The routes discussed were Kingstown Road to Narragansett Avenue, Kingstown Road to Narragansett Avenue to Caswell Street, Strathmore Street to Hoxie Lane, and the Smith route, which is down Kingstown Road to Wanda Street to Narragansett Avenue. The good news is that the committee has consensus that 2 routes should not be considered further for the bike path. The road down Kingstown Road east of the intersection with Strathmore, and the other is Kingstown Road to Narragansett Avenue and Caswell Street. So we sort of felt those 2, there was no strong support by the committee members for those 2. At the end of the meeting, 6 committee members participating in the discussion indicated their top preferred routes. 3 committee members indicated they preferred Kingstown Road to Narragansett Avenue. 2 committee members indicated they preferred the Smith route on Kingstown Road, Wanda Street, and Narragansett Avenue. And 1 committee member indicated they prefer Strathmore to the Hoxie Lane route. The next meeting of the committee plans to discuss feedback from the workshop tonight, discuss a route over Prospect Avenue, and discuss the potential of an amalgamated route from the various options. And that's my report.
Thank you very much, Rupert. I'm sorry for shanghaiing you into this. I knew no one could have done as well a job as you did, so thank you. Thank you to all members of the ad hoc committee who attended that meeting. I believe our next one is on October 22nd, 5:30, again in the large boardroom. And thank you to all members of the public who attended at that time. I think it's at this point that I would turn this over to Alex and really the public at large to hear. Oh, I suppose I should say that coming out of the first meeting, we wanted to hear public feedback, we being the members of the ad hoc committee. So tonight we will hear feedback, we will digest that feedback, and again, when we meet on the 22nd, we will re-examine the routes that we cast votes on to see if our opinions remain the same or have changed. At which point I would ask that the ad hoc committee present a formalized recommendation to the council or no recommendation if that is indeed what is determined. So again, thank you for everyone for attending, and I'll turn it over to Alex.
Thank you, Councilors Torialde and Vignali. I'm glad to hear that the dialogue was productive. I'm sad that there wasn't a consensus. Would have made this a lot easier. It does sound like the same problem that's been ongoing for quite some time is that everyone just doesn't want it to go down their street, and but they do want it to happen. So we have our efforts cut out for us, but definitely would be interested in hearing feedback from you. So with that being said, before going and trying to go back and forth, is there anyone here, show of hands, that actually uses the bike path who wishes to speak this evening, who actually uses the bike path? Yeah, so I'm going to start with these individuals first and then go into the neighborhood. So gentleman in front, Mr. Menke, if you wouldn't mind, would you like to speak? Well, I'm also on the committee. So well, that's all right. If you, again, I'm trying to get as much individual feedback as well. But if you don't wish to speak this evening, that's fine. We can move on to someone else. And then I just ask everyone to come up. Please state your name and address. Oh, did people sign up? Oh, good. So we'll do that too. So with that, we'll go to the, after this, I'll turn over to see who signed up. And that was not communicated to me, so thank you.
So
please
I just
state
got
your
thrown back?
No, you're fine. Just please state your name and address.
Okay.
And you've already stated that you're a bike path user, so.
Okay, Eric Menke, 2 Caswell Street, Narragansett. I do use the bike path. I've lived on my little house in Caswell Street for 40 years, and I am on the ad hoc committee. But I've come to the conclusion after our meeting on last Monday night that the I want to, essentially want to change my vote. We had 5 choices. One choice we did not have, which we should have had, was do nothing. That as a bike rider, if I want to, I think we don't want to see it go through residential neighborhoods. Although I did choose Kingstown Road, Narragansett Avenue, I did so because I thought that that was the least, I don't know what the word, not offensive, but the least less desirable. But I also don't want to, this town has a parking problem. So losing, I think the number was 87 spaces, doesn't quite fit. And I would also like to question the composition of the ad hoc committee in that we didn't have a representative from Kingstown Road, Narragansett Avenue. We did have a representative who's a bicycle enthusiast who does not live in town. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And apologize to everyone who has signed up already. So we'll now turn to the list. And if we have time afterwards, I'll pick whoever hasn't.
We have 10 folks who are represented by Attorney Mike Lynch. I don't know, Mr. Lynch, if you'd like me to read those names or just turn it over to you.
You can turn it over to me. I'll read them. Be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
In advance of the time, especially the issue of 3 minutes, I did, back at the end of September, have the opportunity to correspond with your solicitor and asked him specifically that given the fact that I would be representing 10 of my clients, that I be allotted their particular time. That would provide you an opportunity not to continue to have a number of people up here. I have gone through my presentation. I don't even expect that it will be a half hour, but am asking on behalf of my clients, Stephen Liebermensch, Barry Stein, Arlene Rogel, Jody Nichipur, Victor Ritchie, Denise Manzi, Lisa Garzilli, Dana Moriarty, Cheryl Guimette, and Bridget Giuliano, that I be afforded their time and that I be able to present on their behalf in that regard. So I'd be afforded up to the 30 minutes, but I don't expect to be using that time. I did correspond with your solicitor in that regard. I had a couple of conversations at the courthouse with him. He did not foresee that as a problem, but I know he's not here this evening.
And you said that there were 9 other individuals signed up after that? Or, sorry, just want to make sure we're doing the math.
There's 10 more on this list, and there's a few more out by the door.
Okay. Well, I'll start with 15 minutes first, and then we'll do a time check after that.
That's right.
And if you wouldn't mind, between those next 15 minutes, just making sure that we get those extra names. So I'll start.
Great.
And I'll time it here, so we'll do another check-in at 6.
Great. The position that we have is, as you would expect, in opposition to any designation of platting of the bike path through the residential development of Canachet Homeowners Association. The bike paths are generally intended to take advantage of the most direct routes available from getting one point to another. Some of the plans presented do that safely. Others, on that one alone, the plan to send bikers on Strathmore, could and should have been rejected out of hand, and in fact was rejected out of hand some 6 years ago. This plan has all the earmarkings of being result-oriented. It appears to have been hoisted upon this council by the prior council when it, or some, didn't get what they wanted. First, this proposal was previously discussed at length, and a report was presented in or about 2019 that specifically noted that the plan under discussion right now to put the path through Strathmore was rejected. And that rejection came from experts in the process of evaluating such plans. Again, the author of a review that was a leading mobility solution firm and a professional engineer who served as the chairman of the Bicycle Technical Committee of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. This issue came up again in early 2024 when 3 alternatives were discussed. While Dupree queried at that time why Strathmore was not addressed, that is clear. In 2019, that report was specifically rejected as not being safe. DePrete made its recommendations in 2024 to utilize the plan from Kingstown Road to Narragansett Ave and to the shoreline. And notwithstanding that, Ms. Kopech directed and got this town to pay for a further review, the third time, a third review, an already rejected plan, one that she directs to property to be managed by a company her husband sits on with the idea of trying to develop it. Again, Strathmore was not included because of the earlier report specifically rejecting it. This committee, this council need not forget that. Now here we are again, but what's changed? Greenery's gotten greener, trees and bushes have grown, families have grown. You simply cannot alleviate the issues previously addressed and gave rise to the professionals rejecting the proposal to use Strathmore. I'll discuss what has changed and what would make more sense. But let's return to 2019. DePrete and the Rhode Island Department of Transportation rejected the proposal of proceeding down Strathmore after the town hired DePrete and presented 5 alternatives approximately 6 years ago. The consensus was that 1, the plan was not safe, and 2, involved too much administrative work that would necessitate involving CRMC and DEM. This was all documented in the town council's minutes. Now this plan has found new life and query why. The proponents of family of the entity that owns and manages property abutting Anhoxie Lane, the Friends of Canachet Farm, sit on the board and they desire this path to go through their property with a plan to develop that property and potentially benefit from what the engineers have designated, and this ad hoc committee heard, what could be 50,000 riders a year. And also, why push off Narragansett Ave? Previously approved. It's a short distance to the short line. Anybody having a financial interest in real estate along that road would have to recuse themselves from this proceeding. But in addition to the Strathmore plan being previously designated as not safe, there were administrative issues. DEM and CRMC, of course, we have to mention, but you also have to address the fact that there are federal funds involved. Certain other preliminary work will be required that includes the Narragansett Indian Tribe, and a full site survey is required by the Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission. Narragansett is familiar with this type of preliminary probe. The development at Seaport Village was curtailed or shut down by Indian artifacts that were discovered. Because this area is deemed to be an area of extreme environmental diversity, it will require an archaeological sensitivity assessment. Next, not even addressing the wetlands, the area surrounding Strathmore has been noted to be the home of at least 2 protected species, the long-eared bat and the salt marsh sparrow. Before any work can be undertaken there will have to be federal and state environmental review, and then there will be limitations for any construction that is to be recommended. The length of that time for review may well extend beyond the ticking clock for completion of this project before the available funds are pulled. And that doesn't include the cost of paving. That's going to be required. Infrastructure work, the cost of which ranges from half a mile at about $370,000 up to a mile at a cost of about $740,000, because these are in CRMC and DEM controlled areas. Neither of those projected expenses that I've just mentioned include drainage. And of course, there's the addition to the costs associated with the changes to the road in front of the town beach, where you'll be dumping everyone, and there's less than $3 million to complete this project. And speaking of infrastructure expense, what about the cost for maintenance for this project? This proposed plan will add to areas that will be subject to damage and erosion from weather, not to mention use. Additionally, no question, Narragansett's businesses should be benefit from the continuation of the bike path that has been a topic of discussion for years. But taking a circuitous route around the way, away from the businesses, does them no good. It also has the potential to create more congestion in front of the beach and serve to create issues with individuals seeking to access services there. Your commercial district has been ignored in this plan. However, they've spoken recently, and I've been provided with a copy of a petition seeking to take the bike path toward your business district. Bless you. And this has been signed by at least 40 businesses that contribute to this town through real estate taxes, business inventory taxes, wages, and the like. Why would this council ignore their input? And the fact that the proposal that they support also saves money that has been earmarked for this plan that could go into such things as restroom facilities as part of the plan. And why not fulfill one of the objectives of your own comprehensive plan, namely to increase the net tax revenue available to support the community of Narragansett? As I said before, you know this plan has been a constant source of discussion, but there has been a source of action previously. Consider the bike path that has been partially completed in Narragansett. One would need now to simply join it together. Specifically, I'm noting that across from the Sprague Field is Prospect Street. It's part of a designated and already existing bike path that has been paved and marked as a bike path. I believe the town has already spent in excess of $1 million on this plan. Why would you direct those it was intended to benefit away from it and wasting the taxpayers' money? Access to this is already set as well with a pedestrian crosswalk right on Kingstown Road. While there have been discussions of this area of Kingstown Road not being safe, the state has already deemed it an area recognized for travel by bike and provided with signage for sharing the road with bicyclists. One is right in the area of the crosswalk. And for those that say Prospect Street is too steep, I've been out there. It's not, but you don't have to use me as an example. Your town's designation of that road as a healthy walking path marked by signs makes it clear that a claim of being too steep should not be an impediment to an already designated path not being incorporated into the completion of the town's portion of the South County Bike Trail. And as I said, the costs for Prospect Street have already been expended by Narragansett as it winds its way around a ball field and ends up behind the town hall at the cul-de-sac on Central Street, right at the end of this building, right behind this building. The amount of money spent on this already existing bike path and a bridge that it serves has been astronomical. Why should that money go to waste? Worse, why wasn't it ever shared with Dupree Engineering to consider as an alternative? This would allow the path to then continue down in front of this town hall to Kingstown Road, beyond the area of concern raised by Dupree and Parr Engineering at the corner where the ice house is located. It can then find its way by and through the businesses that could benefit. The discussion of an endpoint at the beach is a misnomer as well. Whether intentionally or not, I'm not going to get into that, but gives credence to the thoughts that the selection of Strathmore is result-oriented. The stated purpose before this most recent proposal was for the completion of the path to end at the shoreline, not the beach. This is met by all accounts anywhere from the southerly end of the wall, heading north and ending where the town beach meets the Dunes Club access. In any event, Rhode Island Department of Transportation and those administering the grant for the bike path have noted that, if you want to use the term beach, would run from Monaghan's and heading north and just end before the Dunes Club. But I also have to mention, as noted in your comprehensive plan, that area from Ocean Road at Monaghan's and heading north is already part of the approved bike path that continues up to Boston Neck Road and heads out of town. Again, something never mentioned by Dupree or Parr. I'm also sure you're familiar with the word a taking. Well, if the plan for the bike path goes through Strathmore is approved, the town will become a party to a takings action. My clients all have property interests in the roads of their development. The Narragansett Planning Board is responsible for the preparation and extension to the comprehensive plan for the improvement and physical development of the town and for the regulation and approval of platting and subdivision of land within the town. And that was done in this case. A former Narragansett Town Council in 1995 passed a resolution for the abandonment of Strathmore, where my client's development starts. The then Planning Board's chair has, on a number of occasions, addressed in writing the development process of my client's subdivision. This was addressed to the Town Council in 2000, even following a transfer of property by the then developer of strips of land for the streets to comply with what had been approved, namely certain conditions for the responsibility by the town, but an express recognition of interest by my clients. Consider there was a simple reference note, consider there was a separate simple reference noting that the gate providing access to the museum and farm would be on the town's property, And if the streets belonged to the town alone, that language wouldn't be needed. Nonetheless, my clients have a property interest in the road, which approving this alternative for the bike path will constitute a taking. There are also viable legal challenges to an approval of this plan that exists that prohibits such a taking for recreational purposes. The laws would nullify any approval. The development process is replete with commentary that my client's development would not become a means of access to the beach and certainly not to allow for some 50,000 riders, walkers, or the like traveling through their subdivision. The town, in its approval for this development, understood that this area was to be highly restricted to anyone other than the residents. It was understood access was going to be provided to visitors of the museum, that I specifically referenced earlier, and there would be a limitation of use to protect the needs and safety of the public while mitigating the problems unlimited access would cause for the museum and the subdivision residents, my clients. There's also specific reference that no bike plan was planned to go through this development in 1998. As part of the development process, it was even provided for a section of property to be conveyed to the town of Narragansett on the westerly side, and there was a 5-foot walking path. Again, it needs to be stressed that in developing my client's residential subdivision, it was always expressed that the gate to the museum would be on the property of the town housing the museum. It was not intended for access to the beach. The proposal suggested for consideration of going through Strathmore does exactly that. The impact could have wide-ranging effects on the town coffers, not only from the taking suit, but from taxes that are paid. My client's properties were appraised and have been subject to reevaluation based on the development that the planning board approved. Now, if the bike path is approved, it's widely expected that there will be a significant decline in property values for 31 properties that pay significant property taxes to the town. Additionally, my client's development has recorded documents, restrictive covenants that people are familiar with. They're approved by the town in the development process, and that limits actions and activities, specifically in this instance, signage. The proposed bike path by Par Engineering calls for signage. A violation of the covenants and placing sharrows won't work. They're recognized as not intended to show people where to go, but to remind motorists of the existence of bikers on the road. In any event, both are prohibited under the restrictive covenants approved and required to be followed for this development. Proposed paths that go into areas such as Strathmore and the museum and to Ann Hoxie, unfortunately, must also consider that what it can invite is undesired conduct. That can occur, and safety of those using the path can be at risk. There's a significant distance along the proposed path where little can be seen, and that should be a concern for this council. Safety is also an issue in Canachet. Without any parking restrictions, people have cars parked in front of their houses. There are landscapers, other contractors with trailers parking along the road. The roads are winding and invite, as already noted today and several years ago, significant safety concerns. Your comprehensive plan recognizes the importance of being part of the bike path, but notes the importance as a means for travel. And in that regard, should be considering those paths that afford the most direct paths. Kingston Road to Narragansett, and that head right or left to the shoreline, or the plan suggested that utilizes an existing path from Prospect to Fifth and to Kingstown Road. In sum, there is a limited budget and limited time, said to be, I believe, 2027 for this. If intent on using Strathmore, there will be DEM, CRMC, and other studies to be undertaken. There will be significant expense into that, and then to the infrastructure as well. There will also be...
Excuse me. Just doing a quick time check.
I'm finishing up.
How much more time do you think you'll need?
30 seconds.
Okay, easy enough. Thank you.
There will also be action, as I indicated, to protect my client's interests, as I mentioned earlier. Under those using the plans with direct paths on existing roads is safe. You've heard that from the experts. Far less expensive and may well provide for the opportunity to improve other resources that would benefit cyclists, business owners, and the town as a whole. not a few. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Cotty.
And just please state your name, address, and are you a regular bike path user?
Hi, David Carty. I reside at 34 Canachet Way in Narragansett, Rhode Island. Also a business owner at 128 Boone Street in Narragansett, Rhode Island.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Good
just as a reminder, I'm going to try to limit everyone to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The gentleman was representing a number of people present, so I just want to let you all know.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dear Narragansett Town Council members, as the owner of Carty Realty, a second-generation real estate brokerage company and a local business serving South County since 1970, I've had the privilege of getting to know countless local families, serving them as clients, getting to know them through our local Narragansett school system, and working with them on business transactions. I believe I have a strong sense of communities, needs, and values. I'm writing to you on behalf of many local businesses to ask that you support extending the bike path down Kingston Road using one of the following routes. Alternate 2, Narragansett Ave, right on Caswell Street, left on Kingston Road. Alternative number 3, stay on Kingston Road. And then the third here is Prospect Alternative, Prospect Avenue, or the Gansett Loop Trail, an established bike path to Central, 5th Ave, and Kingston Road. Each of these routes support local businesses. The remaining options bypass our commercial area, a missed opportunity for the community and the local economy. Tonight, I present a signed petition representing most businesses in the Pier area with approximately 40 signatures. In fact, no one business declined to sign due to disagreement with the routes promoting business. Except one. Thank you. The message is clear. Routes passing through the heart of the pier will increase year-round foot traffic, reduce car congestion, and strengthen our vibrant, close-knit community. I understand there are concerns about potential parking loss along Narragansett Avenue and Kingston Road. However, a thoughtfully designed bike path can help alleviate parking demand by offering a safe, healthy, and sustainable alternative for people to reach the pier without needing a car and to showcase all the offerings that we have on the pier. Please support the 40-some local businesses who have signed this petition in favor of the bike path routes on Kingston Road that directly serve the pier's business district. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Peg Fredette. Peg Fredette.
Hi, good evening. Peg
Hello.
Fredette, 110 Gibson Avenue. I
Avid
am-
biker?
I am not a biker.
Okay,
Full disclosure.
thank you.
Matter of fact, I think my kids make fun of me whenever I am on the bike. I think they break out into the Wizard of Oz song, if I'm not mistaken. But I am a longtime resident, and I've known about this for 46 years, it seems. I've been talking to the Smiths for a long time about this issue, and I hope, in fact, you can bring it over the finish line somehow. And there's always, of course, both sides of the ledger, and in this case, maybe there's more than two sides. There's a lot of different alternatives, et cetera. But I'd like you to stay focused on, to some degree, the businesses, because where this bike path ends really matters. I understand the safety concerns, the neighborhood concerns about how one gets there, but we have a tremendous opportunity to ensure that our businesses in the Pier area have the visibility that they so deserve. And it's been really tough on them all these years because they're so hidden. And this would certainly help in that regard. So as you look through your alternatives, and I know there are many, and again, you have to listen to everyone's voice, of course, but I really would like to, really make sure you think about the many businesses that are here in Narragansett. We try very hard to be more than a summer business, more than a beach. We try to do the off-season business. This would help us out tremendously. And then I guess from a personal experience, I had a business that was on a bike path and that was not visible. It was in Wakefield. And I got to tell you, that bike path really helped me out. Again, it was seasonal. People don't ride the bikes all the time, or crowds of them. But when the season was good, it really did make a difference to my business. So I know it can help. So I just ask you to please consider that as you're considering everything else, that we've got a bunch of people that really could use the help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Newquist.
Good evening, members of the Town Council. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. Oh, my name is Ann Newquist, 46 Canonchett Way, and I am an avid biker. Not avid. I'm a biker and a walker. Used to be a runner, and I use the bike path. And my husband and I live at, as I said, 46 Canonchett Way in the Canonchett Farms neighborhood. We moved in late 2024, so we're the most recent property owners in the neighborhood. And we did move in after searching in many different parts of South County, not just Narragansett. And we found our forever home in the Canonchett Farms neighborhoods. What clinched it for us is that we really bought a neighborhood. We didn't just buy a home, we bought a neighborhood. And we immediately fell in love with our neighbors. We fell in love with the feel of the neighborhood, how you drive into it. It's a quiet, semi-private, cul-de-sac, planned development, as Mr. Lynch has described in some ways. And we feel, and in addition to that, when we bought the house, our backyard butts up to the South County Museum. So we also have a wonderful view of a very rural, historic farm property that is made up of unpaved dirt roads, and there's a rooster that crows every day, and sometimes he's offbeat. But so that's what we bought. And we think that the proposed bike route going through Strathmore and the South County Museum would completely change the character and feel of the area. And it feels, I hate to use the word unfair, but in some ways it feels unfair being such recent property owners. We feel like the 50, 60, or 100,000 annual potential users of the bike path that we've seen written up in grants through the windy Strathmore area and then the unstructured area of the museum would be detrimental. We can't imagine a 10-foot wide bike path going through the museum property, then a 20-foot wide bike path going through Anhoxie Lane. Those are such dramatic changes to a pristine area of Narragansett, an untouched area in some ways, that I keep thinking that the Dupree report didn't really, they said it's a viable path, but they didn't really analyze the details. There are no details behind the report. There's no detailed analysis of how South County Museum is actually used by visitors. I see it every day because it backs up to our property. I see the big school buses, the rented wedding vans, the catering vans. They're all turning around back there. I don't know how a bike path I don't even know how you build a bike path with potential e-bikes. Whoop, I've run out of time. I'm a talker. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, thank you. Won't be the last time. Just trying to get through as many people as we can. Thank you.
Neil Rogel.
Good evening, members of the Town Council. My
Good
name
evening.
is Dr. Neil Rogal, live at 60 Canonchett Way, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
And bike path user?
Occasional,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Okay. My main concern with the bike path is the safety of all people involved, both pedestrians, bikers, residents, and the overall public. As you enter Canachet Farms, there is many, many blind spots where the two pillars are on either side of the development. I don't know how many times people have come around that corner and almost clipped people. The blind spots just prevent you from seeing walkers. And if we have bikers thrown into the mix, it's just going to be an overall consideration for public safety that I think really should be taken into consideration. Once again, I'd like to repeat from the VHB report. It says verbatim, a property designated spur leading to an observation deck or blind could be an educational facility. I'm sorry. Okay. I apologize. There are some overriding safety concerns given that the geometric alignment of Strathmore Street, Strathmore Road does not provide adequate stopping sight distances for mixing bikes, pedestrians, and motor vehicles. I would hate to see someone get injured for the sake of lack of safety, lack of vision. I'm also concerned about the retention pond, keeping people out of that area. I'm afraid of someone possibly falling, drowning in that because it is filled with water many times of the year. And my other concern is going down Hoxie. There's no lighting there whatsoever. There have been beach brawls from just the parking area. I think that the town would be making a huge mistake by allowing the bike path to go down there. If people are pulling in and out of the lot, the last thing on their mind would be the safety of bikers. They're just anxious to get to the beach, and without paying proper attention, you're looking for an accident waiting to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Nickaper?
Hi, my name is Tom Nickapour. I live at 53 Strathmore, and I am an avid cyclist. Occasional user of the bike path. I've used the bike paths, the North Kingstown one, the East Bay bike path, and our bike path over the years. In fact, I lived in East Greenwich for over 20 years before I moved down here. One of the reasons I chose Strathmore is my frequent bike rides to this area. So I spent 20 years coming down from East Greenwich because Narragansett was a great place to go for a bike ride. Now, most of that time is not on the path. I don't think avid cyclists use the path that much. It keeps you going fairly slow. There are lots of crossings. It's not really for avid cyclists, but it's for recreational users, folks who want to maybe get to the beach, maybe get to a business in the local area, or just go for a leisurely ride. So I am a fan of bike paths, and I would not oppose a bike path in some way going by my house on Strathmore. I don't mind cyclists riding by, even in fairly large numbers. However, I do think there's some safety concerns, similar to what Ann and Neil spoke about. The retention pond, as you enter our neighborhood, is directly across from my property. To the outside world, it looks like a park with a shallow pond in it. It certainly would attract the attention of folks that are not used to visiting the area. It looks attractive like a park, and I am afraid there could be an accident there. Our HOA is responsible for that property. We've done a great job maintaining it over the last 30 years. I think it presents a danger if it's not dealt with as part of any plan. The entrance to our neighborhood is very narrow. The entrance, from where Kingston Road and Narragansett meet and you turn onto Strathmore is an extremely narrow, dangerous spot already. So this would exacerbate that entranceway. And I'm concerned about the museum. I think the museum represents, as Ann covered, a real treasure for our town. It's a rare type of venue for this type of town and our type of, I guess I'd say we have a fairly commercial environment that close to the beach, but yet you have this wonderful rural farming museum that attracts people and kind of takes them back in time to a time hundreds of years ago. I'm afraid if we take the appropriate safety measures to make a bike path route through that property safe, it'll destroy the very nature of that property and what it was designed to accomplish. So lastly, I'd say just from a common sense perspective, I think we've got an existing path. I'm partial to the all the way down Narragansett path. I think that makes the most sense. It's a straight path. It's marked as an existing bike route. There's markings for signs for that. If you leave from the beach, you can see going up Narragansett is marked as a bike route currently. I think it makes perfect sense and connects very easily to the bike route without much expense. So that's a common sense plan in my mind. Thank you for your
Thank you.
Steve Nanarski.
Oh, okay. Well, you make it easy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tricia Paragiatis.
Hello, my name is Patricia Panagiotis, and I am an avid bike path user, but I'm also a property and business owner in Narragansett. Excuse me, so 31 Othmar Street and 74 Narragansett Avenue. Now, I just want to ask a question before I start. Did you mention at the beginning that the route down Narragansett Avenue is no longer being considered? Was that what he said earlier?
There's nothing that is not being considered at this time. This is, I just want to make sure that this is your time and you utilize
Okay.
it
Well,
to
I
the best
wanted
of
to-
your ability.
I didn't want
There's
to,
no option that's off the table. We're just trying to get as much
Okay.
feedback
So-
regarding your preferences and concerns.
So as a business owner and a resident in Narragansett, I do believe that taking the parking off of Narragansett Avenue would greatly hurt our town and our businesses. There is no way that it is good for my business on Narragansett Avenue to not allow somebody to park across the street to come and shop. They're also not allowed to park and go to the yoga studio next door, or park and go to the restaurant across the street. Narragansett Avenue is one of the few places in this town that people can legally park, and to take that away for bikes would be not smart and unhelpful to all of the businesses in town. There's other routes, and as an Othmar Street resident, I can understand all the people in Canachet not wanting the route going down there. I can also understand why Mr. Mankey says that Caswell Street should be off limits. There's small spaces, and there's not enough room for people. There's also not enough room for people on Narragansett Avenue if we're going to bring 50,000 people down the street and eliminate all the parking. It's not safe in any way. As somebody who's been sitting on that street for 20 years, I've personally witnessed 3 cars get totaled, parked in front of the store because people don't look where they're going, and they don't look where they're driving, and they don't look where they're walking. So to bring families down a main drag doesn't seem smart. I'm all for Mr. Mankey and do nothing. People are getting to town, they're getting to the elementary school, and then they're going where they want. They can get to the beach by several different routes. So it's not like you have to send everybody through their neighborhood or send everybody down the main drag to take away all the parking, or even send everybody down somebody else's street so they can't pull out. Like, break it up, let them get to the beach, and provide a nice place for them at the elementary school. It's a parking spot, they can get places, and people aren't riding bikes and shopping. I've never seen anybody roll up on a bike and be like, yo, I'm gonna get a surfboard today. I gotta know how, I can't get it home. You know, it doesn't make sense. So I go with do nothing and let the bikes keep coming, and I'll stay on the bike path. And if I were on the bike path, I avoid Narragansett Avenue at all costs because it's not safe. Not for bikes, not for people. It's meant for parking and for walking, and that is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Conrad Furla.
How are you guys? Conrad Furla, 437 North Road, Wakefield. also been a buyer and manager for the surf shop for a very long time. And I've also been somebody who's been fighting for public access and public parking for a very long time, which started actually at Narragansett Avenue. Many moons ago, Narragansett Avenue used to have all-day parking. It was awesome. People parked there. They would walk down. They'd go through the surf shop. They'd go to the restaurants. They'd rent boards. They'd walk their way through the pier. They'd buy things, and commerce in the Narragansett area was very good. There was also parking at the South Lot at that time, too. There was a lot more parking spots. Now, I am a bike path user. I do support a bike path. I would love to see it go through the farm. I get why you guys don't like it, but I'm also okay with it being rerouted through the school and around in other which ways. What I don't want to see is a loss of public parking on Narragansett Avenue. We need that parking, and in fact, I actually propose that we restore all-day or longer public parking on Narragansett Avenue to help the businesses in the pier like we used to, because they are suffering. I mean, it's to the point where people used to park on Narragansett Avenue, come to the shop, purchase something, rent something, and walk down to the beach and either do a surf lesson or go surfing for the day. Now they can't park anywhere there. They're going to get a ticket, and it forced the surf school and surf rental business to go to the beach rather than in the town. So it's an additional cost to the shop, and it really doesn't benefit anybody. But I am very much pro public parking, and I'm very much pro bike path. I think it's a great thing. It's just it can't be at the expense of a way for families to get to the shore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis McDavitt.
I'll decline. I don't want to keep saying the same things over and over. I would prefer to do nothing.
Okay. Thank you.
Jim Sullivan.
Good evening. I'm Jim Sullivan. I live at 111 Strathmore Street for the last 25 years. I am a biker and runner, and I frequently ride my bike on the existing bike path. I live next to the museum. I don't know that there's a representative of the museum here tonight, but there is one on the committee, and she made some good points. But the South County Museum has been a good neighbor and a good steward of the land and open space there. They secure the property at night. They have a person that lives there full-time. I particularly enjoy seeing the museum property being used by school trips. I think the paved bike path would interfere with their operation that is now going quite well. They've been doing more events, and they're a great amenity for the town. So I think it would change the character of the museum. And I just also want to point out that the Conotchet Farm area is currently being used for many bike trails, walking trails. People go through there on mountain bikes. Strathmore Street, as everybody knows, is a public street, and bikers are using it currently, and the current use is not problematic. There are some safety issues, some blind corners, but the majority of the bikers are able to navigate the dirt road without a problem if they want to go to the beach through the museum. And obviously, walking on the current dirt path is not a problem. If someone doesn't want to use a gravel path to get to the beach, they can go on a variety of other existing paved roads. No one is being prevented from getting to the beach by bike. The problem is intentionally directing more substantial volume down Strathmore Street. And when you say a bike path, you do not think going down a winding residential street when you envision what a bike path is. The other problems with directing more traffic down this street have been articulated well by the other speakers tonight. I think you are going to run out of grant money dealing with the permitting and the litigation before you ever get around to paving Conotchet Farm. I think there were some good ideas that came up at the ad hoc committee about how Sprague Park can be used. There were a variety of routes. Everybody had good ideas to how to accomplish that. There was also some good ideas about how to deal with the area around the pond, kind of piggybacking on the idea of having a linear park through there. And I think that that whole area could be enhanced with the grant money that you have. I would also like to see an informational map in Sprague Park, similar to what is in Wakefield. And I think I'll conclude with similar to what Eric said. I think this is a solution without a problem. I think we can make this happen without having to go through Strathmore Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Gagnon.
Jim, how are you doing on the list, the total list? 3, is there any other in the back? There wasn't another list? Okay. Yeah, I'll ask after.
Good
Thank
evening.
you. Good evening.
Town Council and members of the ad hoc committee and residents. My name is Paul Gagnon. I live at 54 Wanda Street, been there for 13 years. And I'm aware of the bike path. I'm a rider. I've ridden all the bike paths in the state of Rhode Island. I do centuries. I've done many, many rides. And I'm aware of the PAR engineering study to look at Strathmore, Narragansett Avenue, and Kingston Road. And the newly added option of Wanda Street that was introduced by the ad hoc committee. Before I get to some recommendations on alternatives, I just wanted to step back and review the main objective of really what we're trying to solve here. First, as a rider, I value the safety that the bike paths offer. My kids tell me stay off the roads and go on the bike path as I get older. And I desire, I understand the desire to extend the bike path down to the beach for the value that it provides to the riders, tourists, and especially during the nice weather. For the bike paths that I've ridden in Rhode Island, they tend to end, some of them end at a waterway, and it's very beautiful the way they've done them, with the vantage points and so forth, where it leads you to at the end of the path. Of the proposed recommendations, I really don't see that happening. I mean, several of the proposed recommendations dump you in the parking lot or dump you on the other side of Boston Neck Road, and then there still needs to be an obstacle of how do I cross the Boston Neck Road safely. Then it puts you into either north or south parking lot, so there's really no end destination. In flipping the problem and looking at it the other way, if we chose an end destination for that area, to me, the gazebo park is a perfect location where it could be an assembly point for cyclists that make their way down there. The town could put bike racks so that the bikes could be locked, and then the riders really could go to a restaurant. They could go up into the pier to the stores and so forth. And I think that should be of consideration. As we look at the potential options, the only real true path that kind of leads you down into the gazebo park area would be Kingston Road. That's of the ones that are outlined by PAR engineering. I do want to speak a little bit to safety risks. Certainly because Wanda has come up as a potential option, with 35 to 40 driveways, with poor line of sight and so forth. To me, it really doesn't become an option for creating a bike path down Wanda Street because of huge safety risks. I mean, since they've repaved the street, I'm struggling to back out of my driveway and not, hit these riders and cars that are doing 30 miles an hour down the street. So it's really a safety concern. And I think there's a decision process here that needs to be made. As an engineer for 40 years and having spent the last 15 years of my career as a vice president of engineering, I was part of a decision team on many multi-million-dollar projects. And as part of that, we always had a decision tree. And part of that decision tree kind of filtered out, some of the pros and cons associated with the value of decision to be made. And one of those decisions was always do nothing. So I think that needs to be considered amongst, where you're going here with respect to the bike path. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leo Sullivan.
Sorry, Leo Sullivan, thank you.
Yes, Leo Sullivan, 21 Wanda Street, Narragansett, and I am a user of the bike path.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a few moments to make comments regarding the bike path going down Wanda Street. But first of all, I believe the process to get to tonight's meeting was severely flawed. Of the original 3 routes that the ad hoc committee was charged to gather neighborhood input on, 60% had no representation at the meeting, that being Narragansett Ave and Kingstown Road. That's a tremendous oversight. If you're looking for input, why leave out 60% of the input? With that said, I feel that any route the town takes, any one they select, safety should be the overarching consideration. If you search Google or AI and ask the question, considerations for a bike path, the first thing that pops up in every single search is safety. So safety should be number 1. Now for Wanda Street. Wanda Street has 40 families, nearly as many driveways and points of entry onto the potential bike route. Each of those driveways have a very restricted line of sight to the roadway. And like Paul said, many times, and I've had it happen to me, many times backing out of your driveway, because you don't have a very large piece of property where you can turn around, as you're backing out, you don't see who's coming down the street. Those little toddlers ahead of their parents on the little bikes. Tremendous opportunity for an accident. Now, during peak biking season, many times there are cars parked on both sides of Wanda Street. And that's due to the high density and frequent visitors. So during the highest period of biking, we have the highest period of people parking on both sides of the street, necessarily breaking it down to maybe even a half a car length. It's extremely narrow at that time. At the end of Wanda Street, the route would enter one of the busiest roads during the peak season of biking, and that's Narragansett Avenue. The same road that I can see on a regular basis, emergency vehicles on summer days are forced to drive down the wrong side of the road because of the light and the traffic backing up around the corner. So now you have fire engines going around the corner, and they're traveling on the same side, very close to the proposed bike path. I find that to be extremely unsafe. Again, safety is my issue. Lastly, I'm not sure how Wanda Street was even considered, since it wasn't one of the 3 original routes considered at the last town council meeting. Not to mention, there hasn't been a traffic study or a safety study conducted to support that particular route. But I am in favor of doing nothing like Eric said, but not totally nothing. If we have money to spend, why not spend that money to, at the terminus of the bike path right now, put a comfort station and a place for the people who are using the bike path, have a place to go to the bathroom and freshen up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arlene McAleer.
Hi, my name is Arlene McAleer. I live at 35 Wanda Street. I have lived on that street and owned my house for 46 years. In those 46 years, I have seen tremendous difference in the road. It was summer cottages, a few houses, mostly treed lot, and now it's become a beautiful, friendly neighborhood. Some of the council members stated that they had gone down to Wanda Street to see what the road was like. Well, if you went down this spring or into the fall, you'll see that our road was under construction from early spring until about 2 weeks ago. That meant that that street had potholes, the sewer covers were raised up, there were other things protruding from the road, so the typical bikers, walkers, cars that went down our road did not use that street. Parts of the day, the street was closed off. Wanda Street is very, very busy in the summer and the fall. One of the biggest issues we have on our street is that people use that street as a cut through, so they miss the lights at Narragansett Avenue. They go extremely fast down the street, and one of the reasons that there's a sign on Strathmore Street by the Wooden Indian, no turn on red, was because the residents requested it probably 30 years ago. However, when the cars come down our street, when they're in a hurry, they don't even obey that traffic sign. During the summer, our street also becomes a pedestrian walkway. Many people park at the elementary school or Sprague Park, and you see families with young children in tow, with their beach buggies, with all their beach equipment, walking down the street. And if you have bicycle lanes where people have to pull over, or where you have cars, we have cars that park on our street, it's going to be very hard, and it's going to become a safety issue. On our street, our residents get their parking permits, so we can enjoy our homes with our friends and families by parking in the street during the summer and allowing our guests to use our driveway. Our street does have bicycles come down now. And yes, it is a problem at times when you have a group of them come down, because it's very, very difficult to get out of your driveway. Many times they have earphones on. They're so busy talking to each other, they don't even see someone trying to get out of their driveway. The option of stopping at the end of Wanda Street, I walk all the time. And to walk, you can't get across a street in the summertime to go from Wanda Street to cross over so you can use the pavement. You have to walk along the pond. Sometimes it's muddy, sometimes it's not. But to have bicycles join the road there is an extreme safety issue. So I just want to say, please leave Wanda Street as a very friendly neighborhood street as it presently exists, and don't make it so that we can't enjoy our homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Fleming.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Terry Fleming, Bedford Circle. I guess I'm one of the few people that don't live in the neighborhood.
Avid bike path user?
Not at all. Like walk, but not bike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple observations. It's an interesting discussion. Some of it very surprising to me. I hope that the consultant was here to answer some of the issues that came up. Some people say things, they may be true, they may not, and the consultant.
That'll probably be the next meeting.
At the next
This
meeting.
is a good,
Okay.
just a starting
Okay.
point.
I just thought it would be helpful if they were there.
I agree.
And I was confused a bit and curious, and I'd like to hear more from the attorney that got up relative to the nature of the road. As you know, I was on the planning board for 30 years, and I was on the board when we approved the Canachet Farm subdivision and went to great lengths to make sure that that road, Strathmore, was public all the way through to the museum, because people wanted to make it private. I believe the developer at the time wanted to make it private, and we resisted that because we knew that Hoxie Lane was not the only way to get into the property, and it would be problematic if that was the only way. So I was confused about that, but essentially my point is, I am surprised by people saying doing nothing. It seems to me there's a state plan to get to the shore, the beach, whatever, parse whatever language you want on that. To get there, there's money, and there appear to be safe alternatives offered to you that you could select from. If you do nothing, I would hope the council would consult legal on that as to what, your accountability might be if there were problems. Because if you do nothing, you're leaving people to go from their current destination, the current end at the community center, all the way down to the beach. And I'll tell you, I have to agree with Ms. Panagiotis and a number of other people here. Narragansett Avenue is very unsafe. In addition, taking parking from those businesses is wrong, in my opinion. But Kingstown Road is unsafe. And I think when you explore the possibility of going over Prospect and coming down Central, that's also unsafe. You have a couple of alternatives that could be made very safe. And I think Canachet Farm, Strathmore, is the safest. The road is much wider than Othmar Street. There's a lot less congestion, hence there's a lot less parking. And Council President Menzies asked the consultant at the last workshop, which is the safest route? And the question was barely out of your mouth when he answered Strathmore Street. So if you have the money, I think obviously you need to have the money to complete the road, the path. But then the next item, and I agree with Mr. Sullivan here, that the next item is safety. And it seems to me, in my observation, that that would be Strathmore Street. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Deb Kopak.
Good evening, Deb Kopak, Point Judith Road. I figured since I sort of started this, I might as well end it here too.
Avid bike path user,
I have been a bike path user, but not this year for various reasons.
Yes.
And I do know that this bike path goes from the community center to the train station, which is kind of interesting. But before I get to that, a couple of things I want to correct that Mr. Lynch said. One was that my husband has a business somewhere in Canachet Farms. He does not have a business. He's a 100% volunteer, 10 years worth of volunteering over thousands of hours to improve the trail in Canachet Farms and also remove enormous amounts of invasive species. So that's a business. You got me. Also, he indicated that I cost the town money for the fourth plan, but actually there was money left over. I did not do that. There was money left over in the funding that we had put together for the RFP with Dupreet, and we used that money, and as far as I know, that we didn't go over that amount. So that's another thing. A third thing is that I'm not sure where the number of 50,000 people riding bikes through Strathmore and into Canachet Farms came from. I don't think, to my knowledge, there has never been a study done to determine how many people actually end at the community center. And so if that's the case, how would we know how many people it would be? People ride through on bikes all the time in the route that we suggested. So I'd like to just make sure that that point is corrected. Another point somebody mentioned was declining property values, and actually if you read studies about bike paths, what you learn is actually property values as a general rule increase over time. Getting back to the whole issue of where the bike path should be, I would say that the first consideration I had when I presented the plan that I presented last year was in fact safety. And the second one was the value of where you're going to ride your bike on a bike path. And I thought Narragansett Avenue from the very beginning, I said it over and over again, was a very, very dangerous way to move forward, and also losing all that parking couldn't be valuable. I have a huge concern about what would happen if you stayed on Kingstown Road. I think that if you want to talk about curves that are difficult, the curve at the ice plant is probably significantly 200% more difficult than anything that takes you through Strathmore and Canachet Farms. So that, and then my ultimate plan, concept was that, going through along the side of the South County Museum, not getting in the way of essentially parking, not getting in the way of the school buses, not getting all that close to the museum itself, although I do think that, people who ride bikes are probably interested in the idea of museums, but whatever. And then going down in Hoxie Lane, where we would be able to get rid of a lot of invasive species that are still there, even though Tom works really hard to make that to fix that. And then to the parking lot. But the idea wouldn't be having the parking. I'm going to take a couple more minutes, okay? Or a minute. 1 minute. Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine. So what? It was my idea.
Just please be respectful. Just your final point, please.
My final point is that my objective was always to maintain safety and was always there to provide a really lovely path to the beach, which is where the bike path is supposed to go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else on the list?
That exhausts the list. That's the final one that signed up.
Okay. I just want to start before, actually, you know what? Let's just go into, I think we probably have enough time for 2 or 3 more. So I'll start with the individual here. I saw his hand first, and then we'll go to maybe one or two more, and then we'll close to go into regular session.
Thank you. Dr. Guy Lancelotti, we live at 4 Talia Court in Narragansett. Although I don't go to the bike path often, I have been on it several times. I have a son that's probably on it right now. My reason for speaking tonight is I think there's a common misconception that it would be great to go down Strathmore and through the museum because everybody likes the museum. It's a great place to end up and go through. Not necessarily true. The museum is only open from May through October. It closes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the gates close. It is not well lit. The buildings are not all alarmed. There's only one building that's alarmed. And they're not fireproof. They're all wooden old buildings with lots of artifacts in them. Speaking of the animals are not locked in pens. And we're putting, if it were to go through Strathmore and through the museum, we're directing people to a place that's closed most of the time. So they may get off their bicycles. Somebody may say, wouldn't it be nice to let these animals run free? Well, you may open the pen. They're probably not going to get out, but you're going to let predators in. And we have foxes, we have coyotes, we have bobcats that would just love to see that gate open. I don't think it's the best thing for the museum. And if people on a bicycle want to get to the museum, they know how to get there. They're already going. But to direct them there, especially most of the year it's closed, and even in the summer when it's open, it's only open 3 days a week. It's not the right thing. There is not a security guard there. There's a custodian, but he's not there to be watching people breaking into buildings or doing nefarious things like drug deals, which Jeff, who is the custodian there, told me happen frequency after hours when the gates used to be open. So my main thrust is we don't want to see it through a neighborhood. And specifically, I think it's the concept of going through the museum. Everybody thinks it's a great idea. Not such a great idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, Don Frederick. I live on Strathmore Street, so you know where I stand in this whole process. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Town Council for appointing the ad hoc committee. And I've had the privilege of meeting with 4 or 5, 6 other people during the conversations. And I can tell you that it's a very professional discussion taking place. And we think that we're going to have some good recommendations for the committee. People behind me ran all over the place with all different comments and concerns and so forth and so on. One of the things that we've been criticized about is the number of potential bike path users, and I've shared this with all of you individually, but for the benefit of the audience, we have from 2015 the project prioritization cover sheet, which is submitted by the Friends of the Path and some other people seated here this evening. And in this particular report, they talk about an eco counter. Okay, so an eco counter is a 3,500 device that comes from Canada. You attach it to a post, and it counts the number of people who pass by that. So in 2015, in downtown Peacedale, 64,343 people crossed that line. Now, we have other figures of 100,000, 50,000, and they are projections, they're approximations, and we understand that. But the fact of the matter is that when we share this number of 64,000 with you folks and people in the audience, people say, well, that's not a real scientific number. But if an electronic device attached to a pole and crosses the path and measures every time someone breaks that beam, isn't that a scientific measure? So the number's real, and what we are concerned about, we love people biking in our neighborhood. That's not a problem for us. We're not saying don't bike in the neighborhood. Of course not. We like to see people coming through. But the bottom line is that we're worried about the parade, the constant number of people coming through. And that's where we stand. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. So Mr. Friday spoke on behalf of the ad hoc committee, so I will invite Mr. Friday to come back up to talk on his stance as a resident.
So Rupert Friday, 113 Montauk Road, and I am a frequent user of the bike path. But the reason I'm speaking is to address the issue of the counter. The organization I used to work for, we had 5 of those counters, and we loaned them to land trusts around the state to count. And the counting is only good if they're installed properly in the right location. So we had one counter that the numbers were looking crazy. It's like, how can they have that many people walking that trail? And we went out and looked, and there was like a branch that was waving back and forth in front of the counter. So the numbers aren't always necessarily true. And I guess the other point I'd say is, if you install it in Peacedale, there's a lot of people probably walking in Peacedale, so probably not your typical bike path counters users. Anyhow, I just want to clarify, because that number, I shared that number with some other friends, and one friend's reaction was, that's just not believable. And when I ride the trail, I just can't believe that kind of number. I mean, if there's a road race down the road, maybe, but anyhow.
Thank you. All right, probably 1 or 2 more. Yes. Well, I think you bike. Oh, is the microphone on?
Is that on now?
Yes.
Okay, so
Thank
Matt
you. Can you just
Bazzioni.
repeat your name?
Matt Bazzioni. I own MBX Bikes up at the north end in Narragansett. I know a lot of people here, so I'll keep this pretty neutral. I think my biggest thing is as a cyclist, we tend to not find ourselves as much on the bike path. I think of it as when my kids were little, and how do I want to get from the elementary school to, I guess, the town beach. There was a gentleman that spoke about our destination of what you're trying to do here for the last phase, and I do agree with the fact that where are we ending? Like, I don't know where the point, what's the point of the last phase? And I think that's really missed right now, and I think actually the phase really needs to be, I don't even know how to get from the elementary school to Wanda, to Strathmore, to the traffic light, to Kingston Road. That's the most unsafe section of Kingston Road, from that light to the entrance of Mumford. And so I think I would actually take all the money and put it into the park and get you through the park just to get to where everybody wants to say, let them figure out their way to get down from the town beach. Unless you have a purpose of getting them to the green, which I think is a valuable proposition because it's a focal point for the town, the towers, there's so many events that are going on throughout the town, which is really exciting. I don't think going to the town beach and putting people on the busiest part of 1A with multiple lanes is actually a really good option. And I gotta say, the cost of getting through Strathmore and anything that's involved in the Conotchet Farms piece is, I've watched bike paths fail for years. I've been in the industry for 35 years, and that is a waste of money because you don't have enough to get it to be done. And so, to me, it's more. And again, my piece is not to support all of you from Strathmore. I don't mean that as a criticism, but it's also for the Wanda folks. It's for the Kingston Road folks. There is a piece of it that Prospect makes sense because you've already invested a whole bunch of money. Again, I'm a neutral party here, man. I don't talk politics because I own a bike business in a business in the town. But to me, the focus should be just getting you out of the parking lot of elementary school, because the park is a nightmare and it's busy and it's fantastic, but there's no way to get to even that traffic light where you want to designate. Narragansett Avenue should be off the table too, because I'm a cyclist and I don't like to ride there. So it's, I go up Wanda, sorry for all you folks on Wanda, only because I don't want to go there. So, and I would consider making Wanda a one-way, by the way, so you can eliminate all those people coming from the town beach. So anyway, that was it. But anyway, I'll be happy to help down in the future, so thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you. So we have to We're going to have to end it here, but I do want to thank everyone for the wonderful conversation that we've had this evening. Your feedback was instrumental, and we will circle back at a future meeting to discuss the next steps. Very much looking forward to hearing what the ad hoc committee follows up with us. So again, have a great rest of your evening, and we'll start our regular